We all know we should, but how many of us do take the time out to back up our files? In many cases, hardware devices can be replaced, but software, if not backed up, can be lost forever. Setting even the simplest backup process is easy, needs very little configuration, and once set up it's automatic. So the question is there a backup plan? First we should decide on where the backup should be. Obviously not on the main drive, since it is the software on that drive that we want to protect. It could be a mechanical failure, or the drive has been infected with a virus which could cause a problem. So what are the options? An external hard drive, a USB flash drive, DVD drive, or the best option is off-site storage, like what we have come to accept these days, the cloud. It has many benefits: productivity anywhere, off-site data storage, no IT maintenance cost, disaster assistance, always up, lower cost of ownership, and easily upgradable. We shall look at the backing up to the cloud later, but for the time being we will look at the basic file history backup. The first course of action is to add a new hard drive to our virtual machine. This will simulate an external hard drive or a USB RAM drive. We first select the machine that we shall be using, then clicking on Setting, Storage, Add Hard Disk, Create New Disk, clicking on Next, and Next again. In our example we have chosen to increase the size to 100 GB. Then we clicked on Create, clicking on OK, and we start the machine. Naturally, since we have just added a new drive, it will need initializing, so in Cortana we type in Disk Management, then click on Create and Format Hard Disk Partitions. Clicking on OK when prompted to initialize disk. Right clicking on the black bar found on Disk 1, then we click on New Simple Volume, clicking on Next, and Next again. Here we have changed the volume label to Backup Drive, and clicked on Next, then Finish. We now close all the windows. Clicking on this PC for Backup Drive E and double clicking on it. Just as suspected, it is blanked. In Cortana we have typed in File History Settings and clicked on Add Drive. It should then display the backup drive. Clicking on this will immediately cause a folder to appear on the backup drive called File History. Also, the Automatic Backup My Files option will now be selected. Before leaving the backup, let's look at some of the more options. Here we can force an immediate backup by clicking on Backup Now. Below this is the frequency of the backups, and if we click on the selector to the right of every hour, we can see that this can be adjusted from every 10 minutes to daily. If we now click on the selector to the right of Forever Default, we can see that this can be adjusted from until space is needed or the backups have filled the storage space, so all the backups will now be overwritten. To forever backup these folders. Scrolling down we can see that we can add folders or view which of the folders will be backed up. We also have other options, back up to a different drive. In Advanced Settings, File History is turned on. We shall see what advantage this has shortly. Finally, restore files from a current backup, and once again we shall have a look on how this is performed. If we now look at the folder called File History on the backup drive and navigate through the following folders: File History, User 01, Desktop, Data, C, Users, Users 01, and here we have the folders that will be backed up. Let's double click on the folder called Documents. Remember, this is a backup of the documents found on the C drive, and as at present this folder is empty, as is the document folder on the C drive. We shall now right click on the File Explorer, then on Documents, and now create a file called My Details. Right clicking within this window, and from the drop down menu we move to New and click on Text Document. Changing the name to My Details, and then we double click on the file to open it and add some details. We click on File, then Save, then File and Exit. So in Documents on the C drive we have our original file called My Details. We shall minimize this window. What we should now have is a document folder on the backup drive. Back up to the backup options, and if we scroll up and click on the Backup Now, the process will begin. This can take a little while depending upon the amount of data that needs backing up. In our example, it should only be a few seconds. We should have found that the backup of our original file appear in the backup drive. It holds certain information on when it was last edited. This can be used as a security feature, in the sense if someone has tampered with the file since it was last used. Opening My Details found in this PC Documents found on the taskbar. We will add further information to the file. In our example we have included our telephone numbers. Then File, Saved. Close Notepad and close this file. Clicking on Backup Now and the process will start again. Notice that there is a further copy. This is a clear example of how file history works. Each time a file is altered, a backup is ran. A new backup of that file will be created and is stamped with date and time. If we double click on the first entry called My Details, it contains the original information. Closing this and double clicking on the second entry, we can see the additional information. Not always are the files and folders saved in these locations. Maybe some apps may need to be saved in a different location. Here we shall close Backup Drive and click on Local C. Clicking on Home, New Item, then Folder, and we change the name to Important Info. Within this folder we shall create a new text document called Important Data. Then close this window. At the backup options we have scrolled down and we have clicked on Add Folder. Clicking on the C drive, then on Important Info. Then we click on Choose this folder. We now scroll down, we should find that the new folder has been added to the list of the backups. Clicking on Backup Now, then manipulate to Backup Drive E. File History, User 01, Desktop, Data, C, and here we can see our new added folder. And by clicking on this, we find our Important Details file. Now to show an example of how to restore files, first we return to Local C. Then double click on the folder called Important Info and right click on the file called Important Details. Then clicking on Delete. If we now return to the backup options and scroll down, we can click on Restore Files from Current Backup. By highlighting this and clicking on the Restore button, it should cause the local disk window to appear that now contains the folder Important Info, and by double clicking on this, we should find the file we deleted has been fully restored.